welcome. Good afternoon. Thanks so much for being here. My name is Tyler Finn. I lead community for SpotDraft. SpotDraft is an end-to-end contract automation platform. We're in the back right corner over there by the main stage if you want to come and visit us afterwards. And I'm really pleased to be joined by Andre at DeepL, one of our customers. To kick off, Andre, we're going to have a little fireside chat about his experience with SpotDraft and selection, implementation, advice for you all. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and about DeepL?
Yeah, so DeepL is a AI translations tool. So we're not here as a vendor at the moment, but if you have any translations needs, I can tell you a big company that's great at it and uses AI to do that. And I head up legal operations at DeepL. So it's a vendor and I head up legal operations as well. So this is my community also.
You might be here next year, right? If the Legal Tech Talk organizers are listening, they should give you a discount.
They should do. They should do.
To kick off, okay, you, like many folks, looked at a somewhat crowded market and selected SpotDraft. Can you take us through the selection process and advice that you would have for folks who might be considering something similar?
Yeah, so I always have the view that a CLM is a tool not just for legal, but it's an enterprise tool. And I also take the view that if it's an enterprise tool, even though legal is the one initiating the project, that you pretty much don't want people to feel like you're doing something to them, but you want them to know that you're doing it with them. So from the very beginning, even in framing the issues, framing the problems, as well as looking at the potential vendors that we might be going with, thinking about workflows and what's not, we involve our key stakeholders from the very, very beginning. So our key stakeholders were involved not just from testing, but they were involved from looking at all the other vendors that were out there, looking at the UIs, asking the questions, being involved, filling out the forms as far as the RFPs and stuff are concerned. So they were there for us from the very, very beginning, right up until selection and that, obviously.
Implementation, I think, is also very cross-functional if it's going to be successful. Tell us a little bit about your experience with implementation with us and, again, sort of advice you would have for folks, because everyone who's walked around this floor has probably heard over the past couple of days a story of an implementation gone wrong or not so right.
I've been there already. Yeah. No, I think the implementation was great. And even before that, during the process of selecting, one of the things that we were looking for was a team that we can work with. Because choosing any product that you want to, as a person buying, sometimes you don't know the full solution. You know kind of where you want to get to, but how sometimes is a bit of I'm not sure. So for us, it was important to choose a partner that recognized that leaned into us as an organization, lean into our issue, lean into our problems, and lean into helping us find a solution to do so. So that was very, very important for us. So when we thought about the implementation, even before we got there, is about, could we work with this person or could this person work with us? Would this be a good relationship as we go through it and as we try to figure out some stuff? We pretty much knew where we wanted to get to, but we knew there'd be stuff to figure out. There's always something to figure out during the implementation. So we wanted to make sure that part of it was, could I work with this team? And I think that's what came out. So the implementation for us and working with you guys was good. It helped us understand what we thought was a problem. Maybe the better solution is perhaps doing it this way or doing it that way or what have you. The team was always there, thinking with us and sometimes thinking ahead of us as well. Available day and night. Not that I want people to be available day and night. I want people to have a life. But it was important that the responsiveness was there when during that implementation process where we had issues where we weren't quite sure, that the team would always come back with a solution, or if they don't know, hey, we'll come back to you in a second. And that worked pretty good as well. So we got up and running relatively, I don't want to say quickly, we got up and running in a decent time frame that meant we implemented something good at the beginning.
We don't live in a totally agentic world yet. So you talk about legal tech being a tool for the business, right? Tools need to deliver value. I also, by the way, think that it's incumbent upon a vendor or provider to make sure that you're realizing that value. So if utilization doesn't look good, you shouldn't be finding that out right when renewal comes up. Talk to us, though, about sort of the value that you've seen from leveraging a CLM at DeepL, where those pockets of value that are really key to you lie.
Well, I'll share one quote that I got just last week from our marketing team, and I'll just share it here. And she pretty much said, we've got a thanks Slack channel on our Slack. And if you don't have one, you should have one. It's where the entire company can kind of just call out the things that different people said it did for them and can say thanks in general. So, and this one, one of our heads of marketing, she said, thanks to the team for implementing SpotDraft, already it's huge difference in the field, for the field team in the speed in which they've been able to do their contracts and the turnaround. So it's a real game changer. So they really appreciate that. So for me, that's great value that we're seeing from our teams already. Personally, for us, the value for me also is in the data.
Mm-hmm.
It's in the data that you can get from it. I'm a big believer in storytelling, and I always think legal operations is that you're telling the story of legal.
Yeah.
When you're kind of managing up and showing that. So when you're writing a story, so I'm told, I've never written a screenplay, but some people say you start at the end, and then you write the story, and to get to the end. So for me, it's like, what's the data that I want? What is it that I want the data to tell? What's the story that I want it to tell?
Yes.
And what's the story of legal that I want to tell?
Yes.
And just the other day, we kind of shared our first set of reporting on what's going on, what we can get out of it. And just for our sales team, our marketing team, and just for legal themselves to see the richness of the data that we can get. I mean, simple conversations like, sometimes I've heard someone before talking about thresholds and what have you. Someone would say, but when it's on the customer paper, we can still do it quickly. But now we had the data to show, no. Mm-hmm. When it's on our paper, it's 5 times faster. And here's the evidence for it. Mm-hmm. So now just to be able to show that richness of data to tell the story of legal and from the contracting perspective has been great so far.
I think that being able to tell that story also empowers folks like your GC when they're operating with the exec team at the executive level. Any sort of feedback or examples of how leveraging legal tech, including folks like us, has really strengthened the relationship that you have with the GC and help strengthen the relationship that they've had with the rest of the executive team?
Yeah, I think it's important to be able to speak in the language of other parts of the organization.
Yes.
And sometimes data, or there's a feeling that data and being able to do good reporting on what's not is not something legal is able to do or that legal do. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we in legal actually believe that sometimes as well. We say, it's too hard for me to tell you this or too hard for me to tell you that from a data perspective or from graphs and what's not. Again, speaking the language of the rest of the business. Mm-hmm. But I think legal tech and tools like CLM enable us to do that. Mm-hmm. And it's the legal operations team who speak the language of business sometimes, or not sometimes, all the time, I think. And if our lawyers can't, that we're able to take that and to tell that story and to enable our GC to tell that story when she's managing up or when she's going into the boardroom and what have you. And the feedback from her has been fantastic, that we've been able to arm her with the information and the story behind it, that she can now go in and speak to the board and what have you. It also helps with the investment conversation as well, because very often legal sometimes could be the first place that does not necessarily get that investment, because unfortunately sometimes we're seen as a cost center. But I think if you start with the end story, which for me is how do we stop the conversation about legal from being a cost center to actually being a generator of revenue and contributing to the bottom line. So I think things like CLM and legal tech and what have you can help you to be able to show that evidence and to be able to tell that story in the boardroom. So that's been pretty good and powerful so far.
It's impossible, I think, and this is the last question for you, I guess. It's impossible to walk around the floor here and not hear a lot about AI and redlining capabilities and forthcoming agentic solutions. And those are obviously things that we have invested in and are continuing to invest in. And we have an offering called Sidebar that we'll be rolling out later this year. What are you most excited about as you think about not just what we bring to the table, but what legal tech sort of broadly can help folks like you in your department work on?
I think I was in a conversation the other day, and one of the conversations was saying folks were feeling a bit overwhelmed because the conversation is so chaotic. There's so much to see and what have you. So, and as exciting for me is watching the story narrow a little bit and become a little bit more focused and a little bit more use case focused and what have you. So I'm excited about that, and I'm excited that it is going in that direction. And then also I'm excited the fact that finally legal is taking technology on board. Yeah. And even though it might seem that we're being forced to change, the change is happening and people are leaning in. Whether it be private practice or in-house, legal is leaning in. And that's a good thing to see.
Thank you so much, Andre, for joining me here. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah,
and now I owe you a beer.
I appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thank you
Alan.
guys.